Hare Krishna, welcome to this special program on the systematic study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Before we begin today's session, I shall chant a few prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayeta नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमा ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, I would like to welcome once more everyone to this special program on the systematic study of the topmost among all the Vedic scriptures, the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are now in the study and analysis of the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam contains a total of 33 chapters and 1416 shlokas or verses. We have already studied the first 10 chapters of the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This section begins with the narration of the great spiritual discussion and conversation between two great spiritual personalities, Vidura and Maitreya. So Maitreya is giving his teachings and instructions as he had heard directly from the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna at Prabhasa Kshetra or Somnath. And the Vidura Maitreya Samvada, the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya, is taking place at the holy place of Haridwar. And Maitreya has already very exactly explained the entire process of material creation. There are 9 processes of creation, and all these have been very systematically explained by the great sage Maitreya. Now, in the 11th chapter of the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the very scientific and systematic analysis and explanation given about a very important factor that plays a very critical, crucial and a controlling factor on this entire material world in this material creation, that of Kala or the time factor. So the time factor in the material world controls the activities and manifestations of all the living beings. So the time factor has got one kind of influence in the material world, and whereas in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual world, it is conspicuous by its absence. So the nature of time in the spiritual realm is eternal in nature, and eternal time does not have any kind of a deteriorating or a destructive effect the way it has in this material world. So the material creation and all the living beings in the material world are under the influence and the complete control of Kala or time. Actually, the subject matter of time is a very important study in the matter of understanding the truth about this material world. Even quantum physics and many great scientists have tried to understand the actual nature of what time is. Time in this material world is basically manifested in three phases: Bhuta, Bhavat and Bhavya. Bhuta means the past, and Bhavat is the present, and Bhavya is the future. So Bhavishya. So past, present and future. And the factor of time also has a very intricate and a direct connection with space. So this material world is governed by time and space, and it is relative in nature. So we need to understand this relativity of time, which is going to be explained very scientifically and systematically, even in the theory of relativity, by the great scientist Albert Einstein. He explained that in the theory of relativity, just if you take an example, that if you are along with your beloved, time would pass, even hours would pass just like moments. Whereas the same time, if a person is kept on a hot flame, even a moment would pass like a very long period. So therefore time is relative in terms of experiences, and its relativity is basically in direct connection or relationship with space. And how this is so is going to be very clearly established in the 11th chapter of the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. What I am going to speak now is exactly based on the 11th chapter of the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Do not think that I am going to read from any physics textbook. Actually, this is the highest, the ultimate in all kind of physics or scientific study. The perfect, the complete knowledge and truth about the time factor is going to be revealed here. So the great sage Maitreya continues to say in 3.11.1, Maitreya uvacha charamaha sadvisheshanam aneko samyuta sada अनेको असंयुत सदा परमाणुः सविज्ञेयो नृणाम ऐक्य भ्रमो यतः. The ultimate particle of the material creation, of the material manifestation, is called Paramanu, is the atom which is indivisible, and it is Sadvisheshanam. It has got the specific symptoms of it cannot, which is not again formed into a body, and that is called the Paramanu or the atom. It always exists as an invisible, avigneyaha, as an invisible identity even after the dissolution of all forms. The material body or any shape is but a combination of such atoms. So this is the first verse of the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which gives the exact definition of Paramanu or atom. So starting from here, in the description of Kala, in the scientific and systematic understanding of time, Kala, the first understanding is that of the atom, because atom is the basic unit of space, and how space and time are interrelated, are interconnected, will be explained now. So to understand time, First, we need to understand space, and the basic unit of space is paramanu or the atom. So after the definition of atom, next sata eva padarthasya swarupavasthitasya yat kaivalyam parama mahan avishesho nirantaraha. Maitreya further explains that atoms or paramanu are the ultimate state of the manifest universe. When they stay in their own form without forming different forms or bodies, they are called the unlimited oneness. They are certainly different bodies in physical forms, but the atoms themselves form the complete manifestation. So there is, just like in atomic physics, the atom is regarded to be a world in itself, which is complete with all the subatomic particles of the nucleus containing the neutrons and the various atomic particles like electrons and neutrons. So in this way, this is the same understanding given by a similar understanding given by the Srimad Bhagavatam thousands of years back. And in fact, the Srimad Bhagavatam was first revealed at the beginning of creation by the Supreme Lord Krishna to Lord Brahma. So in this way, after defining after giving the definition of the atom, the paramanu, and its fundamental characteristics, एवं कालोप्यनुमितः सौक्ष्मे स्थौल्ये च सत्तमा संस्थानभुक्त्या भगवान् अव्यक्तो व्यक्तभुग् विभुः. One can estimate time, kalaha, by measuring the movement of the atomic combination of bodies. Time is the great potency, the great energy of the Almighty Supreme Lord Sri Hari, Lord Krishna, and who controls all the physical movement of this material world. So therefore, kala or time is measured according to the movement of the atomic particles. So how this is explained further as Sakalaha paramanurvai yo bhungte paramanutam sato vishesha bhugyastu sakalaha paramo mahan. The first basic understanding of time or kala is given as the atomic time. Atomic time is measured according to its covering a particular atomic space. So the interconnection or the interrelationship between space and time is that atomic time is the measurement of the atoms covering a certain atomic space. So that time which covers the unmanifest aggregate of all the atoms is called the Mahan Kala or the great time or the universal time. So here in the 11th chapter of the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we are going to get the complete understanding, the complete knowledge and the complete truth about time, starting from the atomic level up to the universal level. The atomic time up to the universal time. Atomic time, which is the basic unit of the fundamental, the smallest measurement of time, up to the complete existence of the entire universe, which is called Mahan Kala or universal time. So further in 3.11.5 it is explained that Anudvau paramanu syat trasarenustvaya smritaha jalarkadakshmi avagataha kham evanupatannaghat. The division of gross time is calculated in this method. Two atoms combine to become a anu. Two paramanus become one anu, and Anu is known as a diatom, a double atom. And three diatoms or three double atoms combine together to become a trasarenu. A trasarenu is a hexatom. Trasarenu. So basically the ultimate particle of matter is atom called Paramanu, and when two atoms combine it becomes Anu. Anu is a diatom, and when three diatoms combine together it is called a Trasarenu. A Trasarenu means a hexatom. So त्रसरेणुत्रिकं भुङ्क्ते यत्कालः स त्रुटि स्मृतः शतभागस्तु वेदस्य तैस्त्रिभिस्तु लवस्मृतः. The time duration needed for the integration, trasarenu trikam bhunkte, the time taken for trasarenu trikam, for three hexatoms to bhunkte, to integrate together, is the basic measurement of time known as truti. Truti. So the fundamental measure of time, the basic unit of time in the Vedic time conception is called a truti, and it is not some arbitrary standardized figure that has been measured just like the way in modern science the unit of measurement is a second. And why is a second a second? So it is just a standard accepted protocol which has been agreed upon by all the scientists, by all the people of the world. So it is just a matter of convenience without any real factual or scientific basis. It is just actually in science, in physics, all the various units of measurement, either of time or distance or volume, they are just some standard measures which have been of a common agreement among all the people of the world and have been accepted as standard measures. Whereas here we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam that the unit of time is not an arbitrary thing that has been accepted for the sake of convenience, but it is the most scientific and technical aspect based on the movement of the atoms. So the atomic time, the unit of atomic time is called Truti, and Truti is the time taken for three hexatoms to integrate or combine together. And further in this way the various divisions of time, so beginning from atomic time which is Truti, 100 Trutis combine to make one Veda. Three Vedas combined to become one lava. So many times it is used at lava matra. So lava matra is actually three Vedas. Likewise, nimesha strilavo gneya amnataste trayakshanaha kshanan panchaviduk kashtam laghuta dasha panchacha. The duration of time of three lavas is one nimesha. What we say nimesha? Nimesha is actually derived from the Vedic calculation of time as originally as nimesha. So it is a little similar to minute, but actually there is a slight difference of nimesha. And then three nimeshas make one kshana. Kshana. 5 kshanas combined together make one kashtha. 15 kashthas make one laghu. So actually one laghu is approximately equal to 2 minutes. So this is the connection between the modern units and measurements of time with the Vedic calculation of time. Laghuni vai samamnata dashapancha chanadika te dve muhurtaha praharaha shadyamaha saptavanridam. 15 laghus. make one nadika, which is also called a danda, and two dandas make one muhurta. One muhurta has been understood to be 48 minutes in the present day modern calculation. Six or seven dandas make one prahara or one fourth of a day or the night. So in this way, prahara, and after prahara comes dvadashardha palonmanam chaturangulaihi swarnamasai kritachidram yavat prasthajalam plutam. The exact way of measuring this time, a experiment is given. A device can be made to measure the time, as the measuring pot of one nadika or danda can be prepared with a 6 pala weight pot of copper, in which a hole is bored with a gold probe weighing 4 masha and measuring 4 fingers long. When the pot is placed in water, the time before the water overflows in the pot is called one danda. So in this way, this is the contraption which is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam for the measurement of time. Yamash chattvaras chattvaro madhyana mahani ubhi pakshaha panchadashahani shukla krishnascha manada. Then every day is divided into 4 praharas, which are also called as yamas. So there are a total of 8 yamas in one day, and 4 yamas in the day and 4 in the night, and 15 days and nights combined become one paksha. A paksha means a fortnight, and there are 2 fortnights, the Shukla paksha and the Krishna paksha. 2 pakshas make a month. Tayo samuchayo masaha pitrinam tad aharnisham dvautavritu shad ayanam dakshinam chottaram divi. 2 pakshas make 1 masa or 1 month. 2 masas or 2 months make 1 ritu, and 6 months combine together to make 1 ayana, and there are 2 ayanas, ayane chahani prahur vatsaro dvadasha smritaha samvatsara shatam nrinam paramayug nirupitam. The 2 solar movements of the dakshinayana and the uttarayana, the movement of the sun in the southerly course and in the northerly course, combined together dakshinayana and uttarayana to become 1 samvatsara or 1 year. So in this way, the Srimad Bhagavatam then says that this is the way of the measurement of time, but this movement is dependent on the space. So how it is? So it is again described in 3.11.13 as Grahakshatara Chakrasthaha Paramanvadina Jagat Samvatsaravasanena Paryetya Nimisho Vibhuhu. All the various stars, planets, luminaries and atoms all over the universe rotate in their respective orbits under the direction of the Supreme Lord, represented by the Kala Chakra or the eternal time. Samvatsara parivatsara idavatsara evacha anuvatsaro vatsarascha viduraivam prabhashyate. So based on the movement of the different luminaries and planetary systems, there are 5 different names for the 5 different kinds of years. For the orbit of the sun, moon, stars and luminaries in the firmament, the 5 kinds of years are known as Samvatsara, Parivatsara, Idavatsara. Samvatsara is the movement of is the measurement of a year according to the movement of the sun. Parivatsara is the calculation of 1 year according to the movement of Brihaspati of the Jupiter planet. Idavatsara is the calculation of 1 year according to the movement of the stars, the nakshatras. Likewise, Anuvatsara is the calculation of 1 year according to the orbit of the moon, and Vatsara is the calendar year. So there are 5 kinds of years. The calculation of year is again, and it's not some arbitrary convenient kind of calendar. It is exactly based on the movement of the various kinds of the luminaries in the sky. So all these, in this way, the Srimad Bhagavatam perfectly explains about the subject matters of physics and astronomy, time and space. In the text of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can find the perfect understanding of all branches of knowledge. Now, according to the, before we proceed, we have already now understood the calculation of time from the atomic level, from atomic time, which is calculated by 1 Truti, up to we have now reached the stage of Vatsara or Samvatsara, which is 1 year. So before we proceed further to the calculation up to universal time, the Mahan Kala, let me again give a recap by kind of a tabular presentation. Like a table, I'll just present it as according to if one Laghu is equal to 2 minutes, and thereby one muhurta being equal to 48 minutes or one danda equal to 30 minutes, we can calculate the Truti, which is the basic unit of atomic time, the time taken for 3 hexatoms to combine together. That is called 1 Truti, and the unit of time according to the modern calculation, according to the modern clock, is 1 Truti is equal to 8 by 13,500 of a second. Next is 1 Vedha, which is equal to 8 by 135 of a second. 1 Lava is equal to 8 by 45 of a second. 1 Nimesha is equal to 8 by 15 of a second. Almost half a second is 1 Nimesha. 1 Kshana is 8 by 5 of a second. So something that is close to 1 second is Kshana. 1 Kshana is little more than 1 second. 1 Kashtha is 8 seconds. 1 Laghu is 2 minutes. 1 Danda is 30 minutes. 1 Prahara is 3 hours. 1 day is 12 hours. 1 night is 12 hours. And 1 Paksha is equal to 15 days. 2 Pakshas is 1 month. And 2 months is 1 Ritu. And 3 Ritus is 1 Ayana, and 2 Ayanas is 1 calendar year. So this is the calculation from atomic time up to 1 year. So now let us continue further to the understanding of universal time. So in this way, the Srimad Bhagavatam explains Pitrideva Manushyanam Ayu Paramidam Smritam Paresham Gatima Chakshva Yesyu Kalpad Bahir Vidaha. So Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishwam Vichakshate Dhira Yogaradhena Chakshusha. So this is the explanation of the calculation of eternal time, and it is further explained that in 3.11 11.33 एवं विधेन होरात्रे कालगत्योपलक्षितः अपक्षितमिवास्यापि परमायुर्वयः शतम्. Kaloyam dviparagdhakyo nimesha upacharyate. The first half of Brahma's lifetime is explained now as the Brahma Kalpa, and evam vidhera horatrer, the years are again expanded to become one yuga. So there are basically four yugas known as the Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Treta Yuga, and Satya Yuga, also known as the Krita Yuga. So now from Samvatsara, so how many Samvatsara or how many years make one Kali Yuga? The present age is also known as Kali Yuga. So this is a very, very important thing to understand. Whenever the terminology of Yuga or Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga or Satya Yuga is used, we must consult and accept the genuine and authoritative statements of the Srimad Bhagavatam and of the Vedic scriptures. There are many people who give a false conception and a false idea and calculation of these various yugas. There are many religious institutions, there are many religious gurus who falsely claim that Kali Yuga lasts for some 5,000 years, or give some different calculations according to their own imagination without any basis. If you ask them what is the basis for this calculation of the Yuga, it is zero. It is just their imagination. Whereas here, you can use any other term. You can use any other term, any other terminology, and say that okay, this is what it may be. So this may be golden age or this age or whatever age. But if anyone has to use the term Yuga and Kali Yuga or Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, one has to remain chaste. One has to be loyal to the original teachings of the Vedic scriptures and not arbitrarily and imaginarily and without any basis give any different conception. So now Kali Yuga has a duration of 4,32,000 years. The duration of Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years. Currently, about 5,150 years have passed since the beginning of Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga would last for another 4,26,000 and odd years. So that is the duration of the Kali Yuga. Before the Kali Yuga is the Dwapara Yuga, which is twice the duration of Kali Yuga, which is 4,32,000 into 2 is 8,64,000 years, is the time duration of Dwapara Yuga. The Yuga before that is called the Treta Yuga, and it is 3 times of Kali Yuga. So therefore it is 12,96,000 years is the duration of Treta Yuga. And before that is Krita Yuga or Satya Yuga, which is 4 times that of Kali Yuga, and therefore the time duration of the Satya Yuga is 17,28,000 years. Now, if you combine all the 4 yugas, Kali Yuga plus Dwapara Yuga plus Treta Yuga plus Satya Yuga, all the 4 combined together, and they are known as one Mahayuga. So, one Mahayuga is equal to 4,32,000 plus 8,64,000 plus 12,96,000 plus 17,28,000. Total of 43,28,000 years. So 43,20,000 years is the duration of one Mahayuga. And it is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text number 17, Sahasra Yuga Pariyantam Aharyad Brahmano Viduhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratravido Janaha. And here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita it is stated that 1000 Mahayugas are called one Kalpa, and one Kalpa is the duration of one day for Lord Brahma or in Brahma Loka. So this is very, very scientific to understand. If time is correlated to space, then there is a different calculation of time on the various planetary systems. The time taken for 3 hexatoms to combine together in Bhuloka is different than the time taken for 3 hexatoms to combine in Brahmaloka or in Svargaloka, and therefore the calculation of time is different in Bhuloka, Svargaloka and in Brahmaloka. In Svargaloka, 1 day is equal to 6 months. In Pitraloka, 1 day is equal to 15 days of our calculation. In Svargaloka, 1 day is equal to 6 months of our calculation. In Brahmaloka, 1 day is equal to 432 billion years of our calculation. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, before going to the Kalpa, the next measurement that is given. So from years we come to Yuga. There are 4 Yugas, and the 4 Yugas combined together become one Mahayuga, and there are 71 Mahayugas. 71 Mahayugas make one Manvantara. And there are 14 Manvantaras in one Kalpa. So 71 into 14 is about 992, approximately 1000. So 1000 Mahayugas or 14 Manvantaras of 71 Mahayugas make one Kalpa. So one Kalpa refers to 1 day of Brahma, and likewise there is a night of Brahma, 1 Paksha of Brahma, 1 month of Brahma, 1 year of Brahma. 50 years of Brahma is called Paragdha, and there are 2 Paragdhas, and that is known as Dviparagdha, and that is Paramayusha or Mahan Kala or the universal time. So from the atomic time of Truti, which is equal to 8 by 13,500 of a second, we have the calculation of the universal time, which is 43,20,000 into 1000 into 2 into 30 into 12 into 100. Please calculate it and update me by tomorrow. So this is the calculation of universal time. So this is known as Dviparagdha, and this is the duration of Lord Brahma's lifetime or Ayushya. Even when we go to any temple or before performing any auspicious ceremony, the Vedic hymns are chanted, the Vedic mantras of Sankalpa are chanted to declare the location and the time of the performance of the religious ceremony. So when we go to a temple in a Sankalpa, they say that Shri Adya Brahmanaha Dvitiya Paragdhe Shri Shvetavaraha Kalpe Vaivasvata Manvantare Chaturyuge Prathama Pade Jambudvipe Bharatavakshe Bharatakhande Meroho Dakshine Parshve. So all this is actually the description of the time and the space. So the present duration is actually Dvitiya Paragdhe, in the second half of the lifetime of Brahma. Brahmaji has just completed 50 years, and today is his happy birthday, the birthday of Lord Brahma, and the day of Brahma today is known as Shveta Varaha Kalpa. In the Shveta Varaha Kalpa, the seventh Manvantara is known as Vaivasvata Manvantara. So in Vaivasvata Manvantara, the present Mahayuga is 28th Mahayuga, and in the 28th Mahayuga of the 7th Manvantara of the 50th year of Lord Brahma, the present Yuga is Kali Yuga, and in Kali Yuga 5150 years have passed. So this is the wonderful calculation of time as described in the Vedic scriptures and in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can just be wonderstruck at the tremendous and the long lifespan of Lord Brahma in Brahmaloka. But please do remember that this eternal time is nothing but the energy of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, of Lord Krishna. And therefore, in comparison to in the spiritual world where Lord Krishna is eternally engaged in his eternal divine pastimes, there is no calculation of time. In the material connection, there is absolutely no calculation or measurement of time. Whereas in the material world, the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, known as Karanodakashayi Vishnu, the first Purusha Avatara, for him, the entire Dviparagdha, the entire lifespan of Brahma that I just mentioned now, of trillions and trillions of years, 43,20,000 into 1,000 into 2 into 30 into 12 into 100, this huge duration of time is explained to be Yasyaika Nishvasita Kala Mathavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanathaha Vishnur Mahan Saiha Yasya Kala Vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. For the Supreme Lord Vishnu in his Purushavatara as Karanodakashayi Vishnu, not even in the spiritual world, in the material world, the entire duration of the universal time is equal to Eka Nishvasitam, one breath. Lord Mahavishnu exhales and the entire material cosmic manifestation comes into being. All the living entities, Lord Brahma, come forth and live for 100 years, Lord Brahma. And when Lord Mahavishnu inhales the 100 years of Brahma, this long duration of time that I explained is completed. So for Lord Mahavishnu, this fantastic duration of time is equal to just one breath, one exhalation and one inhalation. That is the glory of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So now proceeding to the next chapter. The 12th chapter of the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam further explains the creation that took place of the various great personalities of this universe from Lord Brahma. So the 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the creation, the generation of the greatest personalities, beginning with the 4 Kumaras. So this is very nicely explained in 3.12.4 that after Lord Brahma received all the instructions from the Supreme Lord Krishna in the matter of creation, he now deeply contemplated how to increase the population of the entire universe, how to populate all the various planetary systems with all the various grades of living beings and living entities. So at that time, he first created from his mind. So they are known as the Manasa Putra, the mind-born sons. The first progeny, the first children of Lord Brahma are the four Kumaras, known as the Chatu Sana Kumaras. Sanakam cha sanandam cha sanatanam athatmabhuhu sanatkumaram cha munin nishkriyanurdhvaretasaha. So in the beginning, Lord Brahma created the four great sages Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana and Sanat Kumaras. So Lord Brahma, after giving birth from his mind to these four Kumaras, gave them the instruction that you should now accept wives, and in this way you also should create more and more children to increase the population of this world, of this universe. But the four Kumaras did not obey the command, the order of Lord Brahma. They took the firm resolve to remain as Naishthika Brahmacharis, or always remain in celibacy, in the vow of Brahmacharya or celibacy, and thus completely devote and dedicate themselves to the path and practice of spiritual life. So therefore, we should learn that the first living beings created by Brahma showed the path of spiritual practice and spiritual life. They did not enter household life to help us appreciate the great value of spiritual life, that the most important consideration and path in this material world is to follow the path of spirituality and attain moksha, attain liberation. So now when the four Kumaras did not obey the order of their father, Lord Brahma became very agitated and anxious and angry, because Lord Brahma was very concerned and anxious at the beginning of creation to very quickly increase the population so that the various lokas can be filled with the living entities. And here his first children were not ready to accept the command of their father to assist and help him in increasing the population. So the four Kumaras left from that place, taking the firm vow of celibacy or brahmacharya. So at that time, Lord Brahma became angry. Anger is also known as Manyuhu. Manyur Manur Mahinaso Mahan. So it is explained that Yad Arodihi Surasreshta Savairuroda Devanam. When Lord Brahma became angry, Dhiya Nigrihyamanopi Bhruvor Madhyat Prajapatehe Sadyo Ajayata Tanmanyuhu Kumaro Neelalohitaha. From his anger, a child was born from between his eyebrows. And this child who had a mixed blue and red complexion, Neela Lohitaha, as soon as the child took birth. So this is the second son of the first children of Brahma, are the four Kumaras. The second child is Rudra, or Lord Shiva. So who was born from the anger of Lord Brahma from between his eyebrows. Savairuroda devanam purvajo bhagavan bhavaha namani kuru medhataha sthanani cha jagadguru. So after his birth, the child began to cry loudly, and therefore his name became Rudra. And he asked Lord Brahma, kindly designate my name and place. So Then Lord Brahma spoke that Yed Arodihi Surashrestha Sodvega Iva Balakaha Tatastvam Abhidasyanti Namna Rudra iti Prajaha. Lord Brahma gave the name to the child as Rudra because you have cried in such great anxiety. So in this way, Lord Brahma further said that you will have 11 forms. So there are Ekadasha Rudras. So first the Kumaras were born, and then Rudra. The Rudras expanded into 11 forms. So the 11 forms of Rudra or Lord Shiva or Bhava or Hara are mentioned in 3.12.12 as Manyur Manuhu Mahinaso Mahan Shivaritadvajaha Ugrareta Bhavakalo Vamadevo Dhritavrataha. The 11 forms of Rudra are Manyu, Manu, Mahinasa, Mahan, Shivaha, Ritadvajaha, Ugrareta, Bhava, Kala, Vamadeva and Dhritavrata. So these are the 11 Rudra incarnations, and then there are also the 11 Rudranis, the 11 wives of Rudra who are known as Dhi, Dhriti, Rasala, Uma, Niyut, Sarpi, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Swadha and Diksha. So they are the 11 Rudranis, and then Lord Rudra, that is Lord Shiva, and Uma, that is Rudrani, they also began to combine to produce, to increase the progeny of this universe. After this, Lord Brahma further observed that the progeny of Lord Shiva at the beginning of creation began the work of destruction. So he restricted Lord Shiva to keep his children under control, and they would be required later at the time of dissolution or pralaya. So therefore then Lord Brahma further contemplated how to increase the best kind of progeny at the time of creation. So further it is explained that Lord Brahma then asked Rudra to stop procreating more children and instead go and engage in austerity and penance. And meanwhile, again, Lord Brahma, from his deep contemplation, he produced 10 sons. These 10 sons, again, the Manasaputras of Lord Brahma, are mentioned in 3.12.22 as Marichiratri Angirasau Pulastyaha Pulaha Kratuhu Bhrigurvasishtho Dakshascha Dashamastatra Naradaha. The 10 sons who were born next are Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Bhrigu, Vasishtha, Daksha, and the 10th son is Narada. So it is also mentioned that Utsanga Narado Jagne Dakshongushtan Swayambhuvaha. Narada was born from the deliberation of Brahma, and therefore he is famous as the best, the foremost, the number one son of Lord Brahma is Narada Muni. So in this way, these personalities were created by Lord Brahma, and after that, again when Lord Brahma became, because even these 10 sons were more engaged in penance and austerities, Lord Brahma again further deeply contemplated that how he could increase the population of the living beings all over the universe in all the various planetary systems. So at that time, Lord Brahma produced and generated the first two living beings who are the progenitors of the entire mankind. So they are Manu. Manu is here referred to as the first Manu. The first Manu is called as Swayambhuva Manu. So Swayambhuva Manu, and he also generated the first female, and she is known as Shatarupa. So Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa. So they are the first man and first woman. The previous generation or creation of the various personalities are in the Devagana, whereas in the Manushya Gana, in the Manava Samaja, the first man, the first woman are Manu and Shatarupa. So they were created by Lord Brahma, and now Lord Brahma entrusted the task and responsibility of increasing the various living entities in this universe to Manu and Shatarupa. So in this way, the 12th chapter of the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam very nicely explains about the creation of Lord Brahma, of the various great personalities, and further in the 13th chapter of the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the very beautiful narration. It is the beginning of the narration of from the 13th chapter up to 19th chapter. In 7 chapters is the wonderful description of the first avatara of the universe, the first incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So the Purushavataras are the first category of avatars, and later also the Gunavataras. But the Leelavataras, the avatars that the Supreme Lord assumes for the benefit of the entire mankind, by hearing about whom? Simply by hearing the Avatara Katha, the narrations of the divine pastimes of the Supreme Lord in his various incarnations, one can purify oneself of all material contamination and attain the highest perfection of liberation. So the first such Leela Avatara in the universe after the creation is very beautifully described and narrated in the from the 13th to the 19th chapters of the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I shall not mention the name of this avatara. I will leave it for you to guess and think that who is that first avatara, and we will hear about the wonderful, superhuman and extraordinary pastimes of this first avatara of the universe in our next session tomorrow. Please do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please do join us for the continuation of the systematic study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.